Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Talk about being on the X.
Hey guys, Todd Helms here with another episode of the Wingmen podcast. And today I have Mr. Baker Leavitt on with me. And Baker, you are the hunting community manager for Black Rifle Coffee and all around international man of mystery. You're you and I've had the pleasure to spend some time together, and it's been fun. And thank you for jumping on the podcast with me today.
Absolutely, man. It's always a pleasure. I always like chatting with you guys.
So what have you been up to?
Just trying to keep my head above water. Black Rifle just went public a couple of weeks ago, which this shirt is from the ringing of the bell in the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just a lot of changes taking place, like really positive changes at Black Rifle in regards to the outdoor space. There's no excuse for us not to accomplish the mission now. I don't know what I can and can't say because we're publicly traded, but when you start a company with nothing and as you progress through it, like the number one probably barrier to entry to most things is monetary reasoning. I can't afford it. We need to hire these people, but we got to bootstrap everything. And you got people wearing 5 different hats, and now we're publicly traded and we don't really need to wear 5 hats. That being said, no one, in the progression of business, when you're responsible for 10 different things, people don't like to give up their real estate. You know what I mean? Like, this is mine, I own it. They take ownership in it. So now we're, no excuse. I think we're 814 employees, something absurd like that. So no excuses now to accomplish the mission.
Dude, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, we were following all that pretty closely, getting ready for the Western Hunt Expo and everything when it all happened. And
well, it's interesting. Like, I challenge anybody listening to tell me the last time a conservative company went public. Openly, outwardly, consumer-facing conservative company went public. I can't think of anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. Nothing comes off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, who knows? Yeah, I can't think of anything. So it was a win for everybody. Awesome company, awesome mission, awesome people. It was surreal, like standing there on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange and Evan's ringing the bell, and you're just like, man.
So you were there?
Absolutely.
I've never done that. I've never been there, and I've always thought it would be cool to go and check it out.
So most people have not. That's very rare. So Tom Davin, who's recon officer, Duke undergrad, Harvard MBA, worked at Pepsi and Taco Bell, and was the CEO of 511, and worked for all these different major companies. And he's got a career in investment banking and stuff like that going back probably 40 years. He's never done it.
Wow.
Panda Express. Like, he worked for a ton of companies, a ton of brands, big companies, and he's never been a part of it. Steve Taslett, same thing, invests and works with companies, billions of dollars. Never done it first time. Wow. Evan did it at the age of 44 for the first time, at 8 years after getting into business. Left the military. 8 years later, he's ringing the bell on the floor of New York Stock Exchange.
Crazy. That's incredible. That's a crazy story.
2014, he had $1,800. Started the company. Look at it now, 2.5 billion.
Wow.
Well, I just looked down and said, what's next? What's next, Evan? So no, it's been a fascinating journey. Black Rifle is the first company that I've worked for full time that I didn't help start or own part of. And I've always said, if I'm the best thing we got, we're screwed. And I truly believe that. I'd rather be surrounded by people better than me at everything than
right.
It's just been awesome, to be a part of it. Because for 4 years I was a consultant, and then full time for 2 years. The last 2 years, full time employee. You just see and watch things, and you get to, instead of being the person making all the super important decisions, you get to watch how different people make make these super important decisions. And like, there's been times when Evan's done stuff, and I'm like, man, what in the hell is he doing? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. 2 years later, you're like, oh, I got it. Okay, I see. Okay, yeah, I knew that. No.
Yeah, right. Ike does similar things to us.
Yeah,
here.
you're like, man, what is he drunk today? Is he on drugs? You know, and then
you said it 6 months to 2 years later, you're like,
oh yeah, okay,
huh?
yeah, I'm with you.
Okay,
And
this will work.
you know, it's been the whole thing. It's just been awesome, man. Super exciting. My role and responsibilities are about to expand pretty drastically, so I've been told. So you know, sky's the limit, man. We can do anything, we can accomplish anything.
What does the hunting community manager for Black Rifle Coffee do? I mean, what does your day-to-day look like? Because I know folks listening to this, especially younger guys, are going to be like, dude, I want to get in the industry. I want to do
on the phone all day.
Really?
Talking to companies, talking to people, talking to brands, telling people no, telling people yes. You tell a lot of people no, like, and you got to figure out a way to do it without insulting anybody, just because, and you know, I tell people like, hey man, like, it's not just because it's a no today doesn't mean it's going to be a no in 3 months or 6 months. And just because it's a really bad idea today doesn't mean it's going to be a bad idea in a year from now. And then some people, you know, I don't have a filter. Well, I have some filter, but like, there are certain people that have horrible, terrible ideas that will be horrible, terrible ideas until the day that they die. And they need to know that those are bad ideas. And like, you try to talk them into maybe not doing something because it's going to eat up all their money or burn money and time, you know. So talk to companies, strategic partners, influencers that we work with, brands we work with, events we're doing, events we're coordinating, all kinds of stuff, man. Like it's like owning a farm. There's always something to do. Always. There's always something to do. Managing people, that's another thing. You know, there are 5 people underneath me on my team, managing them, responsibilities, making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, finding stuff for people to do, just staying busy, man, keeping the ball moving,
right
dancing the ball down the field. Sometimes it's, you know, a 1-yard run, sometimes tackle for a loss, and then sometimes it's a, you know, 45-yard pass. So different level things.
Right. Well, and that's something that's interesting because I don't think a lot of folks, when they think of Black Rifle Coffee right out of the gate, obviously they're thinking coffee. You know, I was stoked last night. Our local grocery store finally has the ready to drink stuff. You know, everything from the 300s down to the smaller cans.
You got the 300s.
We do have the 300s.
Yeah, there was some supply chain issues with those for a minute.
Yeah, and our Maverick gas stations, which are kind of endemic to Utah and parts of Wyoming, a little bit in Montana. Those have the 300s now too. So it's like, man, I don't have to order this stuff. I can just get it. I can just run down to the store and grab one. And that was funny. I was standing in line getting some stuff for supper last night, and was like, I wonder what's in this case behind me. And I just turned and looked, and it was just this wall of Black Rifle ready to drink cans. And I'm like, that is awesome. You know, I put it on the Wingmen story, and
I think I renamed it on the outdoors.
I think you did. It was cool. I appreciate that. But you know, other than that, when people hear Black Rifle Coffee, they think, you know, coffee. They think these funny YouTube videos. They think all these different things, but I don't necessarily think that they automatically connect it with hunting, with the hunting space.
So it's a new vertical for us. It's not one of our original verticals. So we maxed out, you know, first responder, firearms, 2A, Elliot, mill veteran, all that stuff. We maxed all that stuff out. And then we're looking for other verticals to go into, and hunting and fishing are huge opportunities.
Well, and they line up well, you know. So it makes sense.
Yeah. So this year, so far this year, we have signed corporate sponsorship deals with Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, signed one with the Wild Sheep Foundation, one with the National Deer Association, Pope and Young Club, and there is one more I'm not remembering.
NWTF?
NWTF. I was just at the convention last weekend. And the NWTF. That's why we're on the podcast talking about the wings, you know.
We're getting there. Yeah, we're getting to the turkey stuff.
Yeah. So and then I went to Sheep Show this year for the first time. And
how was that?
Unbelievable. Truly impressive. Some of the best conversations I've ever had in my life about hunting took place at the Sheep Show. Like, there's just truly some interesting and remarkable people there, and they have really interesting stories.
Right.
Like, just awesome stuff, man. You know, there's no riffraff there. You know, no offense to anybody that's listening, but you know, you get all the riffraff you can handle at all the other conventions. And and everyone there is there for a reason. Like it's, you know, sheep hunting is super expensive, and then, you know, drawing is damn near impossible. And it's super serious people there that are there for the right reasons. And that reason is conservation and the growth of wild sheep population.
Right.
So I thought it was great, man. I really enjoyed it. It was awesome.
I'm actually putting together our annual sheep issue for Eastman's hunting journals right now. And the stories that I get for that journal, for that issue of the journal, they're usually pretty next level, you know, because like you said, the folks that are doing that for the most part are serious. The photo quality is usually some of the best that I get to deal with all year long. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I have a difficult time narrowing it all down. And this year, thanks to Tag Hub, we have an outlet where I can actually use those full length stories and a ton of pictures, because when it's electronic, it's digital, I'm not limited by print space. And so that's the other side of the job. I know this is the Wingmen podcast. I want to get too far off in the weeds, but
that's fine.
I can totally connect with what you're saying. I haven't been to that sheep show, but I hear stories like that. I hear accounts like that all the time, and I dovetail that in with what I get from those folks. And it's the content is outstanding. So I can only imagine what the face-to-face interaction would be like.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a lot of fun. I really did enjoy myself. And then I was at NWTF this past weekend. We're a corporate sponsor of the National Wild Turkey Federation, which I personally think is, from a conservation standpoint, what they've accomplished. I think they've accomplished more than any other all other organizations combined don't touch what NWTF has accomplished. So I might not be 100% right on this, but I'm going to be close. I don't. There might have been like huntable populations of turkeys in like 5 or 6, 7, 8 states in the 70s or 80s, and now there's huntable populations in all lower 48, including Hawaii and plus Hawaii.
Yep.
Every state but Alaska. What they've done and what they've accomplished is phenomenal. But yeah, turkey hunting is one of my favorite things in the world to do. I know I catch a lot of gruff from my Western hunting buddies.
So do I. Don't worry about it.
Drives me batshit crazy. I'm like, it's, and the thing, if you really want to piss off a bunch of Western hunters, tell them that turkey hunting is similar to elk hunting. They'll lose their mind. Like, whoa, oh my God, you hear what he said? Hey, come listen to this. And it's like, let's break down what I said. Okay, so elk hunting is you interact with the animal. You're vocalizing, they're vocalizing back. You use sound created by you to hunt and pursue and ultimately kill an elk. It's the same thing with turkey hunting. You're calling, they're answering back, you get them to come in. That's just how it works. It's like it's a super duper poor man's version of elk hunting. Like, it's great. I love it.
And it's available, like you said, in literally 49 out of the 50 states.
Yep.
Guys, and almost any, they're like whitetails in that respect, in that everybody has turkeys in their, I won't say in their backyard, but available to them for the most part.
Well, that's one of the things that makes it super frustrating is whenever I'm turkey hunting, like, I always have friends for some reason that send me pictures of urban turkeys. Like, when I was at Killcliff, there was this gal named Athena who lived in Framingham, Massachusetts, and her boyfriend she would be attacked by turkeys in his front yard when she'd go see him. And I remember I was in Nebraska getting my butt kicked because we got sold a bill of goods by this outfitter. And well, not by the outfitter, but by the landowner's son, who happened to be a district attorney in Atlanta, who was a pathological liar, which was terrifying to find out that you have district attorneys that are not honest. But I remember, like, I wasn't frustrated, dude. I was pissed, stomping around, and I get this picture of a turkey full strut right next to, like, so this dude's house, here's his door, and then he had a glass slit here and a glass slit here on either side of the door. And there was a turkey in full strut looking at his reflection in the glass. And I was just like, damn it. Man.
They're like, this is easy. Why are you struggling so hard?
Yeah. And then, like, she sent another photo of like 30 in his front yard that would, like, wait to try to attack her when she tried to go in the house, like, just crazy stuff. So, yeah, I love turkey hunting. I've hunted turkeys all over the country. I cannot wait for this season. Last year was the least I've ever turkey hunted in the past 10 years. I killed a Rio in Texas. And was
that on you guys put together an event, if I remember correctly, with Black Rifle Coffee.
Yeah. So the Veteran Adaptive Athlete Shoot, that is at our ranch out in Leon Springs. No, that's not where I killed that bird. I killed that bird at Camp Bailey. Camp is the chairman of the board of Cryptech, or he's one of the 3 partners of ownership Cryptech. And it was his ranch in Uvalde. And so we hunted, it was me, Michael Shea, and then Dr. Michael Chamberlain, who you've spoken to. We took him.
Solid dude.
He's a PhD in wildlife biology with a focus on wild turkeys. And, like, you talk to him and you just realize that you don't know anything. I've killed a truckload of turkeys, man. I mean, dude, I'm talking about a truckload of them, like a couple truckloads. And I thought I knew my stuff until I met him, and I realized I know nothing. So it's nuts, dude. But I've got some cool opportunities this year. Like, I have an opportunity for an Osceola and true Osceola, that'd be my slam.
Okay.
And then I've got Georgia, Texas. I got an opportunity in Kansas. I'm not doing all of these. Oregon, which is my favorite place in the country to turkey hunt.
Really?
South Oregon, Roseburg. My buddy David Powell owns CrossFit Roseburg. That turkey's there, dude, unbelievable. It's amazing. Lots of birds, absolutely beautiful. It's the most beautiful. It's spring. It's not raining. It's just super green and hilly and absolutely next level.
What birds are you shooting there in Oregon? Are you looking at Merriam's or Easterns, or what are they? They're Rios. So they must have transplanted Rios up there.
Well, funny you mentioned that. So if you know the Davis Mountains of West Texas, right?
I know of them, yeah.
You've heard of it, right?
Right.
So the Davis Mountains of West Texas has, like, epic elk, like phenomenal, like truly, truly remarkable Roosevelt elk. Those elk were transplanted. Dude, they're hammers. They're
Roosevelt.
But it's all private land, and they're non-native species, so they're viewed as an invasive species. You don't have to have a license for them, but you got to have access, which is, there's no price you can put on it. And they're rosies. And if you go up to Oregon and look at all those Rios, they traded like 16 Roosevelt elk for 25 Rio turkeys, and they did it for like 25 or 30 years. Every year, relocated them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
That's wild.
It is. It's truly wild. Yeah, that's awesome.
It floors me. Stories like that just are incredible to me, how animals get where, they don't belong or they didn't exist naturally, and they get there. I remember going
and then they thrive.
And they thrive. Whitetails in Finland and in other Scandinavian countries. Whitetails, yeah, they're loaded with them because a lot of those folks transplanted. They sent whitetails over to their home countries. Like, here, you might enjoy these things. So that's crazy. Roosevelt's in Texas and Rio.
And if you look at, like, Georgia versus Alabama deer, there's a I think Georgia has a Wisconsin strain, and I think Alabama has an Ohio strain. Something like that. Somebody might want to fact check that, but I know one of them was. I'm pretty sure Georgia's Wisconsin. And if you literally look at the state lines, the rut in Georgia is in early December, and the rut in Alabama is the last week of January, the first week of February, every year, and it is literally an imaginary line. It's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah, and then there's like free range Gims buck in Texas and like Arizona, New Mexico. And then they have some where it's like there's an ibex hunt, where they were introduced and now they're like free ranging. There's scimitars and stuff. Animals are similar to people in that if you look at like South Dakota, North Dakota, you're like, how did anyone in the world settle these places? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who would choose to live here? Like, this is
careful,
crazy.
Man. Wyoming's not much different.
People migrate along lines of latitude.
Right.
So if you take a pin and draw a straight line across South Dakota, that's where everyone came from. It's pretty remarkable. So as long as you do the same with animals, for the most part, generally speaking, it works out just as well. So like if you look at like Texas and stuff, like the axis and the black bucks and all that stuff, they all came from India.
Right.
Now, what's super interesting about black bucks is that they poop in the same spot every day. You'll see this massive pile of like black buck pellets.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Every day, same spot. So anyway, I was in Texas, got a bird in Texas last year. I got an opportunity to hunt a few states this year. I'll probably narrow it down to Georgia for sure at our place. I'm going to get one bird, and then I'll do a turkey hunt in Texas.
Cool.
As well. I like hunting in Texas. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Like Melissa and I spent the week between Christmas and New Year's hunting at Camps Ranch in Uvalde, and it was a lot of fun. What a blast. She got a really nice tall time Texas hill country buck, like really tall, long time. Not a lot of mass, but long tines.
Sure.
And then we had the incident, which was we missed an axis. She's looking at me, smiling and shaking her head. But so Melissa's shot, I don't know, probably 10 deer, 2 bucks in the past 2 years. And she's never made anything less than like a perfect shot. Like if 10 is a perfect shot, the worst shot she's ever made is a 9.
Sure.
I'm not just saying that. And she's also never been emotionally reactive to any animal that she's seen or shot. And we're sitting there first afternoon, and these 2 whopper axis bucks walk out. I mean, whoppers, full velvet, just hammers. And she goes, "Oh my God, I've never seen her I've never seen her in an excitement level out of her that would impact her physical abilities," which was cool to see. It sucked that she missed, but the beauty of that is you don't learn shit until you start failing in the hunting world.
That's it. Yeah, kidding. Not just hunting.
Think about all the things you've missed and errors you made that you've never ever made again. So
I literally lay awake at night thinking about that sometimes.
Oh, all the time, still to this day, stuff from like 20 years ago. But it's interesting. She's only known success in the field with me, and she's never experienced failure. And she still talks about the axis, like she still mentions it. It'll come up, and so it was cool. But it was a lot of driving. We drove. We did there and back we did in 4 days, and that was a total of 35 hours.
You guys live in Florida, right?
We do. We
Yeah.
We had a little puppy with us, and so, but it was cool. And then we saw these 2 massive hogs, and then I had a mistake where we were looking for aoudad, and there was a spot where I knew they would be. And normally I would, park the side by side and sneak down the road. and try and get the sneak on one. And like, we were just kind of driving. I wasn't paying attention. And I'm looking over here to my left and she's tapping my leg. She goes, I think that's what you're looking for right there. It's literally standing in the middle of the road.
Oh,
Like a monster, dude. I'm telling you, like a monster. All that dark. God, it was awesome looking, but we had a good trip. It was cool. We had fun.
that sounds like a ball. Yeah, Texas is definitely a place that I've always wanted to hunt. The turkey hunting in Texas is phenomenal.
The population wise, nothing holds a candle to Texas, and it's not even close.
Right.
So Texas is, Rios. And the thing about Rios is that Rios are like a train on tracks. And they have a very strict, very serious pattern that they follow every day. They get up, they leave the station, and they have a route that they follow. And as long as you can position yourself on that route, you're fine. It's hard to really pull them off that route, like a ways off the route. You can have some success later in the day when like the hens are bred and stuff, and like, but generally speaking, like you'll hear farmers will be like, yeah, man, like be at that hay bale at 9:14, and you're like, well, what is this guy talking about? 9:14, here they come, because that's part of their daily pattern.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Miriam's are similar to that. Not, I don't think to the extent that you're talking about, but they are similar where they will do the same routine. Yeah. And I have ambushed them, been set up where they wanted to be, and it worked out. I've had it not work out too. You're set up and then all of a sudden for whatever reason they did something different that day. But yeah, I think one of my
something bumped them off or
whatever. Yeah, it could have been, you never know. It could have been a coyote, could have been, you don't know what threw a wrench in that schedule, but probably one of my most memorable hunts was some buddies from Michigan came out when I first lived in Wyoming, and we were kind of riding the struggle bus. The birds were really hemmed up, like really, really bad. And we watched a group of toms one afternoon work their way into this little pasture. And we went talking to the rancher. He's like, yeah, they do that every day. So what we do the next day, my buddies were set up there and they killed 2 big gobblers. Exactly like what you're talking about. Just were kind of waiting, and they came in and called a little bit. They walked over to them, bang, bang. Then they were good to go. But it's crazy how birds can get on a schedule and they don't deviate from it.
So here's one thing I learned last year, super important with Chamberlain: never shoot the dominant bird.
Okay.
Never. Let me tell you why. So when let's say you have 4 gobblers, okay, only one of those gobblers' testosterone level is high enough to fertilize eggs. So when you kill the dominant bird, you basically end the breeding and fertilization of those eggs. It's actually one of the worst things you could possibly do. So you're like, God, this one bird came in super aggressive. There's 4 birds, super aggressive, gobbling, full strut the whole time, raising hell. And you can't help it but shoot him, because he's normally going to be the one that doesn't hang up and comes right in.
Pummels your decoy, and yeah,
that's the dominant bird. You don't shoot the dominant bird. So you want to shoot the submissive bird. So if you have 3 birds or 4 birds, you want to shoot the bird that's gobbling the least and never really comes into strut. He's in half strut or 3/4 strut, and he eats on the way in too. Whereas that dominant bird's just blah, 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 the whole way in. And the submissive bird, that's the bird whose testosterone level's lowest.
Huh.
Yeah. And so it's hard to do, but you just have to have some self-control. Like if you want, and now if you do shoot the dominant bird, what has to happen is those other birds have to fight and raise one's testosterone level up high enough to where he can reproduce, or you have to hope that another bird with a high testosterone level comes in and is capable of fertilizing your eggs.
That is interesting. Yeah, he kind of touched on that a little bit in our conversation, talking about not all toms can actually successfully fertilize eggs.
Right.
He talked about that a little bit, but we didn't get into that dominant bird conversation like you just described. But yeah, Dr. Chamberlain is
He's a
a
stud.
wealth of knowledge. I've never met anybody that knows that much about turkeys.
I've never met a person that knows that much about anything. He knows more about turkeys than I know about myself. Well, here's why. He spent his lifetime studying turkeys and how they function. I've just lived my life through my body. I don't necessarily know how everything inside of my body functions, but he knows that much about turkeys. So that's one of the things I started doing this year. And I think that's why my hunting season was so successful this fall, was because I started studying the biology of the animals I was chasing.
Sure.
So if you understand what happens, how things work on the inside, figuring out how things work on the outside is actually quite easy. And a lot of people, they just, win, the most important thing. But like, if you understand the biology of the animal that you're chasing, getting on them and finding them is a little bit easier. And I anyone listening to this podcast, I highly recommend giving that a shot and just seeing how it goes. Like, anytime you understand more about what you're pursuing, you'll be better suited, more prepared.
No, I agree. I agree completely. I'm actually going through my podcast list to find that episode so folks can go find it.
Do yourself a service or do yourself a favor and listen to his podcast. It's truly amazing.
Yeah, it's episode number 24 of our podcast that Dr. Mike Chamberlain was on. And we had some pretty aha moments. One of the things for me that he talked about was why states are moving turkey seasons later into the spring instead of early. We always joke for years that after the first week of turkey season here in Wyoming, you might as well not use a male turkey decoy, like a Jake decoy or a full strut decoy, because they'll literally turn and walk away from it. They don't want anything to do with confrontation. And I always attribute, they're just, they're wussy birds or whatever. And he actually explained the process that was happening, the biology that you're talking about. He's like, those birds are 100% in breeding mode after that first, about the middle of April. By then, their dominance hierarchy, they've got it figured out. Their pecking order is dialed. When those seasons open around April 1st or early spring in our neck of the woods, those birds are still flocked up and they're still trying to establish that pecking order. So any chance they can get to assert dominance on a stranger, they jump on it. And that's why you see these groups of 2-year-old birds just attacking full strut decoys or Jake decoys or whatever it might be. And I've experienced that a couple of times. But what I've experienced more is setting up that strutter decoy or that Jake decoy, and they shy away from it later in the season. And he explained to me on episode 24 or 26, episode 24, that because they're focused on breeding, they don't want to fight. They've established their hierarchy, and a strange bird, it's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze at that point for the bird. They're not going to go in and take a chance of getting hurt, injured, or lose their hens. They're just going to no confrontation whatsoever. And that was really interesting to me, and it explained a lot, and it informed my turkey hunting. And I ended up leaving the Jake decoy at home.
Yeah,
the whole season last year.
I don't use a lot of decoys anymore.
Yeah.
When I first started 10 years ago, I used them religiously. I mean, I'd have a spread. And I'd have a breeding pair, I'd have a Jake, I'd have a hen, lone hen. And then I realized that, they know within 10 feet of where that sound came from.
Yep.
That's how accurate their hearing is. They literally know within 10 feet. And everyone, TV and YouTube glorify the use of decoys and watching them attack a decoy and all that stuff, but it's just not necessary.
Well, and I found, the bird I killed last year, I had a hen decoy. And he never saw the decoy. It was one of those situations where he gobbled one time on private property. I was on a little piece of public and worked him for over an hour, and he never gobbled again. And I kind of thought, he might be sneaking in here. And sure enough, head pops up. He is he's 20 yards from me. He never knew the decoy was there, but he was pinpointed right on me. And, I'd been kind of scratching the leaves a little bit and making some soft purrs and yelps. and he only gobbled one time, and that was it. And all of a sudden, there he is. And it was like he turned, walked behind a big tree, was like, turn the camera on, get the gun up. You know, people are going to watch that. That video drops this weekend, that hunt does. And people will be like, man, you jerked that gun up. And it was like, it's because the bird went behind a tree. He couldn't see me. And that was the only chance I had. And it happened quick, you know.
I don't ever sit with a gun on my knee already. My gun's it's always sitting in my lap. Yep. And I just grab it and throw it up really fast. Like there's people that'll sit there with their knees up and their gun resting on their knee. I think I'm fast enough. I can just snatch it up. I've never had any problems with it.
I haven't either. And normally if especially if you're running decoys, if that bird gets in that close, you got time. I mean, if your decoys are 20 or 25 yards out, you just pull the gun up and shoot. They're not going to get away from you.
They'll freeze and look like, what the heck was that? Right. Shoot them in the head. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think hunting turkeys with a bow should be illegal. Turkeys are meant to be shot with shotguns. I'm joking when I say that, but shoot them in the head with a shotgun.
I preach this to Dan Picard all the time, Mr. Hawkeye here in the office. But and granted, I've killed turkeys with a bow.
I have too.
And I've gone back to the shotgun just because it's kind of like
it's traditional.
I've also seen a lot of birds wounded with a bow, and I'm going to catch flack for this. You and I are going to get some hate for this because there's guys that are like bow, and you can shoot a turkey. You have like more opportunity at shot angles. Like you can't shoot a turkey with a shotgun that's facing away from you all strutted out, but you can with a bow. You can with a bow, but I've seen so many birds wounded.
I've seen more birds wounded with a bow than I have not wounded with a bow, than killed. I've seen more wounded than killed.
Interesting.
And I mean, I'm talking about legit accomplished hunters, and like some will be like, oh, you just don't know where to shoot them. No, that's not it at all. Like the biology of a turkey, like their lungs. So our lungs, the lungs of a human or a deer or a bear or an elk or whatever are voluminous. They're like this, okay? And they sit here. A turkey's lungs are basically like this. It's just like a little strip that's right inside the ribs, like just right in that cavity. It's a very small, tiny little thing, and it kind of molds to the ribs right inside. And it just like, oh, cool, you shot a turkey with a bow. Congratulations. How far was he? 20 yards? Oh, okay. What'd you do? I shot him at 20 yards with a shotgun. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the using a bow increases the likelihood of a bird getting away. In your shotguns, you're not shooting them further away. Like I shoot everything inside 20 yards or in, Same thing with a bow. The range is the same. It's just the likely, and I just think they're meant to have their heads shot.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I agree with you on that. And like I said, that's the beautiful thing about living in the United States, where we can agree to disagree,
Absolutely.
And the bow guys are like, no. And that's fine. If your thing's shooting turkeys with a bow, good for you. My hope is that you're proficient enough and good enough and selective enough with your shots that you aren't one of those guys out there wounding birds. Mm-hmm. I've just seen too much of it. And I think I've killed 4 gobblers with a bow. And the fourth one, I almost didn't recover. I made a marginal hit, and it was close, but I made a marginal hit, and that bird suffered more than I like to see. And so I was like, nope, I'm done.
I've killed 2 with a bow, and I've been with someone 1, 2, like 5 or 6 with a bow that were wounded and got away. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, me neither.
But if I need 1 Osceola to get a slam, and for every Osceola up to like 12 I kill, that'll be a slam. So I think I'm gonna, which I don't care about slams. I really don't care. I do want to get an Osceola, and I definitely want a Goulds, just because they're just awesome looking to me.
We were literally just talking about that this morning here in the office before I jumped on here with you. And talking about Grand Slams versus World Slams and
Royal Slams and all that stuff.
Yeah. And talking about, the ocellated turkeys, Osceola turkeys. I mean, that is a bird.
Ocellated. That's you shoot those things out of a tree, man. Like that's not, I don't
know as much about that, but I do know that they are a gorgeous bird. The handful of people that I know that have killed them, they all have said it was a fairly anticlimactic hunt.
It's not the same genus and species. It's different. They don't call, and you shoot them out of trees and stuff. Like it's not, you just walk up and drill one. It's not hard.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. But I do know that the guys that have done it that I've talked to kind of have alluded that it wasn't the hunt they were looking for. But
now that being said, I'll go shoot one. I'll go shoot one.
Absolutely. I am 100%.
Like, hey, we got a plane running down to Mexico. I'd be like, all right, I'm coming.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. Speaking of Mexico, that's what we were talking about. The Gould's turkeys is Ike was kind of like, well, where would you go for that? I said, Mexico, hands down. You could do it in the U.S.
Arizona.
You can do it in the U.S., Arizona, New Mexico, but the numbers are pretty limited.
Yeah, Jay Scott Outdoors, he's got that whole thing on lock from what I understand. Like
that's what I've heard too. Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
But he does most of his hunting down in Mexico.
Yes, and they set you up. It's kind of like they don't go hold your hand, from what I understand. It's like they just kind of facilitate the lodging and where you're staying and where you're hunting, and the rest is kind of up to you, which that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I prefer that.
Yeah,
like I've gotten some private, like I shot a mule deer last year in Curtis, Nebraska that way, like unguided, but paid for land access.
Right.
And the guy gave me, he's like, yeah, just go glass him. You'll see him coming in and out of the corn and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that was cool. And then I've done the same with a mule deer in La Mesa, Texas, and then some turkeys in Washington State. But that's my thing with the turkeys, man. If like all I need is just access. If you're like, hey, there's turkeys on this property, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that I can find them and kill them. Like, right. No doubt, none. So that does sound incredibly intriguing, especially the fact that it's in Mexico. That sounds super awesome.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. That would be, I need an ocellated. Yeah, obviously. I need an Osceola and a Gould's. Probably a true Rio as well. They kind of mixed our turkeys here in Wyoming. There's areas that are pure Merriams, but you get over in the Black Hills and they put some Rios in there too. And Rios tend to be a little more aggressive with their breeding than Merriams are. So to go to the Black Hills in Wyoming, or even South Dakota for that matter, and to take a pure white tipped bird that's like, that is a Merriam's turkey, it's gotten more and more rare. Really? A lot of them look like Rios. They have that the kind of that creamy, tannish colored, those tips. Yeah. And they don't have that white on them. Every place that should be white on a Merriam's, a lot of those birds over there are creamy and tannish colored. And it's that Rio influence that you're seeing. So have I killed a Rio? Yeah. But have I killed like Texas, Oklahoma, Rio? No. And that's
I call those birds copper kings down there, like the true Rios. It's a copper. They look different in the sun. Like you see them when the sun hits them, you're like, that's cool. But my favorite bird is my favorite bird visually is the Merriam. I think they're beautiful. The white.
They're gorgeous.
And then my favorite bird audibly is the Eastern, because their gobble is 10 Rios and 10 Merriams. Like when an Eastern gobbles on the ground, you know it. And you know where he is because he lets it rip. Versus a Rio or a Merriam, you're like, oh, that bird's 200 yards away. It's actually 40 yards away.
Yes. So. It was funny you say that, because I took a couple of years ago, my wife grew up in Iowa, but wasn't a hunter when she was a farm girl, and grew up in farm country in Iowa. So since we've been married, since we met, she's been hunting for a decade now almost. Right. Anyway, she'd hunted Miriam's out here in Wyoming and loved it. Just loved it. The way they gobble, the way they commit. Just fun. The country's beautiful. But a couple of years ago, she's like, I really want to shoot an Eastern. And I said, well, let's go back to Iowa and visit family, and we'll go hunt turkeys. And it was kind of interesting because it was tough. It was the end of the season and the birds were pretty wily, but she ended up killing an absolute stud of a bird. But that was exactly what she said. She's like, they gobble, like it's like powerful. I said, yeah, it's very different. Those Rios.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah, it's totally different. It just reverberates, you can just feel that. They call it, spring thunder, and there's a reason they call them thunder chickens, man, because they hammer. Those big Easterns just hammer. And
Osceolas do not.
Really?
Not my experience. It's a very weak, meek gobble. They don't, because like where they live, like down in the swamps and stuff, and like around every corner is an ambush spot for them.
Sure.
Where a Florida panther or an alligator, snakes, bobcats, not mountain lions, but Florida panthers, cougars,
right?
Just everything there's trying to kill them. Like, it's crazy. Like where they live, an Eastern wouldn't fly over it, much less walk on that ground.
Right.
It's insane. Like I saw like paths where they walk through the swamp and stuff, and I was just like, no, there's no way. Sure enough, man, like they just it's weird. It's different. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
I've heard that. And my brother and dad have done it. They both have their slams, and they talk about when the Osceola was the last birds that they each needed, and they went and did it together. And that's exactly what they talk about, was how those birds, my dad's hunt especially, like bird all of a sudden was just there. Never gobbled, was just all of a sudden there it was. Just appeared.
Yeah.
And sneaky and kind of quiet. And they said it was very, very different turkey hunt. And it's interesting to see when you talk about that, how birds will adapt according to their environment and habitat. Back growing up in Michigan, if you had a fence or a creek or anything like that between you and a big Eastern bird, forget it. He's not in them.
They wouldn't step across a piece of string.
No, it's like hung up.
That's
it. Yeah, exactly. These Miriam's birds out here are so used to fences and barbed wire, they don't think twice. You could stop them with woven wire or like sheep panel or hog panel or sheep fence, but if it's just a 3-strand or 4-strand barbed wire fence, they'll either hop right over it or duck under it. Most of the time they go right, like through the wires. They don't think twice about that.
Yeah, back east, no, they're not. That might as well be the Great Wall of China.
Right.
They're not even thinking about it.
And I remember setting up on birds. The first time I saw that, I set up on the first spring in Wyoming. I didn't know there was a fence between me and these birds on the roost. Set up, starting to get down. They're starting to talk. I did a little bit of tree yelps, just, hey, I'm over here. And then I shut up, just like I'd call an Eastern bird. And they flew down, and I had a strutter out, and they flew down. These birds started flying down. There was a bunch of them because it was early. And they went, I could see the fence. And I thought, oh man, this isn't going to work. I didn't know that fence was there. Nope. They went through it like it wasn't even there. No big deal. It was crazy.
The worst is when they get hung up and they just walk back and forth.
Yeah.
And then their head turns and they're gobbling this way, or they're gobbling this way. And you're like, oh, they're coming. Then you're like, oh, they're leaving. And because the pitch is different depending on where the head's facing.
Right.
And then you're like, in the back of your head, you're like, that bird's hung up on something.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you're like, but you don't want to believe it, but then eventually you're like, damn it. And then, there they are. Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. That's what I thought was going on with that bird last year.
I've had them standing on top of a dirt mound, walking back and forth. Couldn't figure out how to come down the dirt mound.
Really?
Oh yeah. If you can think of it, I've had it. It's happened. I've experienced it. Like, I mean, I've hunted turkeys a lot in a lot of places, all over the country. Damnedest thing, man.
They're addictive, though. It's like
the most addictive.
yeah, I look forward to them in the spring as much as I do anything else. You know,
Oh, for sure. Well, because it's just as much fun, but it's easier. It's not you're not packing out 1,000-pound elk.
right.
It's just when you think about elk hunting, whether you're hunting a ranch or you're hunting, you're drawing a tag or whatever, public land, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of moving parts. No one's like, well, at least people I know, no one's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go, elk hunt for a day. Like I know there's places out west where people can roll out and, do that. But like generally speaking, it's an adventure. It's an odyssey.
Yeah.
It's
for your average person, absolutely.
Turkey hunting is not, it's like, yeah, we're going to go give it hell on Saturday or Sunday, we're going to, you know what I mean? So, it's different, but I think it's a great tune up. It keeps you sharp, keeps you smart. Some of the stuff about turkeys that fascinates me is each eye sees independently,
mm-hmm.
and each ear hears independently. So you got radar and sonar times 4, and it's all independent. Like if you can imagine, and if turkeys could smell, they only have 4 taste buds. They have no sense of smell. If turkeys could smell, we'd never see one ever.
You never kill one. I've said that for years. I've said that for years. We used to hunt a piece of property back in Michigan that was just loaded with both turkeys and deer.
Uh-huh.
And you'd think, oh man, we're going to hammer the birds. We very seldom killed a turkey off that property because the wind would get our scent would get the deer stirred up, and the turkeys would key off that. They're like, oh, there's a predator here. And they would shut down and either leave or just do what turkeys do, go silent and disappear. That going back to that episode 24 with Dr. Mike Chamberlain, he talks about a study where they had a GPS like fitting on a bird, on a gobbler, on public land. And they would give hunters GPS units, and they would track the movements of the hunters versus the movement of this gobbler. And there was multiple times throughout the season where that bird was within 50 to 100 yards of a hunter. And they get back, they say, did you see anything? Did you hear anything? Nope. Never. There's no birds in there. And that bird was there the entire time. And they just hunker down. I mean, think about it. Turkey's a big bird, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not a big animal.
Right.
They hunker down. They can hide in anything.
I think it was closer than 50 to 100 yards. I mean, I think
it might have been.
Yeah.
You know the story I'm talking about then.
Yeah, for sure. I've had birds just show up. Like, I'll never forget. Jamie and I were hunting it in Camilla, Georgia, and we had one just show up 5 feet behind us and just start drumming. Just scared me to death. Like, just startled me to death. Like, and it was just. I think there's a large percent of the population that can't hear turkeys drumming.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah, but you feel it. Like it's a. You're like, what?
That's when you know it just got real.
Yeah, you see saliva coming out of their beaks and stuff.
Like, yeah, you're like, this bird's close.
There's times when like you can do everything right, and it doesn't work out, and then there's times when you do nothing right, and you can't you can't beat them off. Like we were in Oregon one time, and like I had one with winter rot, his beard had broken, and he was with a Jake, and they wouldn't leave us. And at one point I was holding the decoy by the tail, like stabbing it at him, trying to get him to leave. They just wouldn't go away. It's wild, man. But yeah, dude, I've had some phenomenal, amazing times chasing turkeys, man, and I can't wait. It's right around the corner.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Are you picky about guns and loads? What do you like?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I've missed one turkey in my entire life with a shotgun. I don't care. Trusty Mossbergs. I mean, like Mossbergs kill more turkeys than any other shotgun on the planet. Yeah, yes, I do like Longbeard.
Okay.
I like Winchester Longbeard. I think it is a special shell. because it stretches out instead of expanding. So instead it stretches out lengthwise as opposed to it's a dynamic.
It's got a long shot string to it.
Yeah, and I mean, I pride myself in getting them in close, but we were with Crispy and I were turkey hunting one time in Texas, and the bird was too close to him and he missed it. Bird took off running, and I jumped out from behind the tree, and I got it on video. It was 50 yards away, running away from me, and I dropped it.
Yeah.
Like it didn't flop around. Like I killed it real dead.
Yeah.
Straight away, 50 yards, and it just fell over.
Well, the reason I ask, it seems like everybody's got their pet load, you know, and you hear a lot about that. And for me,
I like small beard.
Yeah, I've heard great stuff about that. I've patterned some of it. I've never shot a bird with it, but I've heard a lot of guys like, man, longbeard that's where it's at. I know for us here and for me, it's federal premium TSS in one flavor or another.
Yeah.
That stuff is just brutal. I mean,
those are the two best. We actually, you know what? I used that last year and the year before. I killed one at our farm in Americus with Jamie, and I shot with a 410. Used that, on a TSS on a 410. If you get a chance, dude, try it. See what happens. It's amazing.
I haven't had a chance to use it yet. I know a bunch of guys that have. My brother in Iowa has. Just wicked. It's just awesome stuff. What guys are doing with those sub gauges and TSS loads is you never thought that possible. Yeah. You know, back in the day, it was like, nah.
I will say this: when people like take super long shots on turkeys, I'm not a fan of that. Like, I'm not a fan. Like, I got one. It works out to 70 yards. You should not be shooting turkeys at 70 yards. I don't care who you are, what you're doing. Like, that's just stupid. Like, that bird's not. You're not hunting that bird and calling that bird in. That bird is. The bird's beating you, so you're taking a Hail Mary shot at it. He's not coming in. Like, for me, he's got to be coming in. Like, he needs to be in, like, coming to you, sure. Not walking around 70 yards away from you. That's just, if you can't get him in closer than that, don't take that shot. My opinion.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I would agree with that. I've taken some pokes on birds that afterwards it's like, I wish that bird had worked in tighter, or had situations where the bird was actually tight,
mm-hmm.
and I didn't have a shot, and then got a shot at longer distance and took it, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, though. You know, it's like get them close, shoot them in the face. That's the fun part of turkey hunting.
And then there's people that want to try and brag about it. Oh man, I got him at 80 yards. Shut up. Don't. Just because you can or you have doesn't mean you should, you know?
Sure. No, I completely understand. Are you guys doing that veterans hunt again this year?
Which one?
The one in Texas through Black Rifle Coffee, you were doing a veterans.
No, that's our adaptive athlete archery shoot.
Adaptive athlete archery.
Yes.
I thought you guys had a turkey hunt where you got some folks together last year in Texas with Black Rifle.
Oh, we did that. Yeah, we did that with Dr. Chamberlain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you doing that again this year?
Maybe.
Okay.
I haven't gotten there yet. Like, I know it's close, but I need to get that sorted out. Season opens up down there in the South Zone on April the 1st. So
okay.
Yeah, maybe we'll see what happens.
You got a little bit of time yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. So you're going to do Oregon again. You're going to do. No. You're not doing Oregon this year.
I think this year is just going to be Georgia and Texas.
Okay.
We've got.
So would you living in Florida? Then, I mean, do you have access to Osceolas?
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Yeah. Last year was my first time going after one. Hopefully, I'll get it. I'll try to get one this year. So Florida, Georgia, and then Texas. And that's going to be my turkey hunting this spring. Unless I do like a circuitous route home from Texas where I shoot up to Kansas. But that's just a lot of driving and a lot of travel, man. And that Actually, no, I'm not doing. When I think about that, like, no. No, I don't like I don't like being away from home. I do
Okay.
travel a lot. But I like being home. Like I enjoy my being with Melissa as much as possible. Like I like our life here. I like our lifestyle. I enjoy it. Family. Like I like being around here.
Sure.
So like, and she and I are we're going to Africa this summer. And then Troy, we're taking him. He got good grades, so he's going snowboarding and for his spring break. We're going out to Colorado in mid-March. And so when you kind of start adding all that stuff up, and then like we've got, we love to fish and we haven't had a chance to fish much this year. So, and then there's a new farm in Georgia that we're getting a part of. And so I got to go up there and check that out and spend time figuring that out, shooting some pigs and stuff like that.
Well, it sounds like you got a full calendar, full slate anyway, but
yeah, but see, I try not to, and I try my best to make it not so full,
yeah,
but like, I just, you get sick of traveling.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, it's I was gonna say if you get anywhere close to here, let me know. We can fit a turkey hunt in.
All right, deal.
Somewhere. That'd be fun. But I get the whole wanting to be home and being with family thing. It's and that's where good on you for getting, Melissa involved with it, because that's one of the things that my wife and I enjoy doing together is turkey hunting, especially, probably more than anything else. And we hunt a lot together. Like last year, big game wise, we spent all of our efforts on her tags. She drew tags, I didn't, and it was like, that's what we're going to do. And we had a ball, but that turkey stuff for us that's where it's at. We're going to go back to Iowa this spring. And the family is close to Minnesota, so we made double dip and hit Minnesota as well. Mm-hmm. I got my Iowa tag. Minnesota you can buy over the counter, and so it's like, let's try it.
Yeah, so I shot my big whitetail in November, and then every other time I whitetail hunted, which was a bunch, except for twice, 2 mornings, she was with me. And I shot. Yeah, she shot 1, 2, 3, 4. I think she shot 5 whitetails this year, 2 bucks and some does. So I've shot so many does in my life. If someone's like, hey man, you're never going to kill another one, I'd be like, all right, who's going to do it then,
Right.
But she loves it. She has fun with it, and our dog Jesco, he's great in a deer blind. Like he just chills. I remember the first time he was a little puppy. Like he's a little boxer. He's like this, and we're like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, well, I'll cover his ears, and then you shoot the deer, and I'll let you know when I'm ready. And so I picked him up and covered his ears, and she drills this deer, and I set him on the ground, and I'm not kidding, he was asleep in 5 seconds. He went, and then just laid down on the ground and just passed out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but he's a big boy now. I don't know if he'll be able to go in the blind with us anymore. He's too big.
Yeah.
He's big. He's a big boy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now it's that family aspect, man. I think that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about turkey hunting, especially, is I took my daughter, my oldest daughter, with me last year. She was 5, and I had zero preconceived notions. Like, we're gonna go. There's over-the-counter tag here in Wyoming. I was like, let's just go. And it was like the last 2 days of season. Mm-hmm. We heard like 1 gobble. The birds were all dispersed, and hunting was, the ones that were left had been shot up, and it was like, okay. But we just
call shot.
Yeah, exactly. And we needed to be able to hike further and faster than what a 5-year-old kid is capable of doing, and we just went out and had a good time. She played with the pot call. We went out for breakfast mid-morning. What do you want to do, honey? I want to get ice cream. Okay, let's go. It's like,
right.
Just go have fun, And so when she's big enough to shoot, she's interested in it, and she wants to go hunt turkeys. So I think that's huge. I think that, we talk about, preach all the time, we got to recruit.
Right.
We do, but we have to retain as well. And
for sure,
you got to build that. You got to stoke that fire. But
completely agree.
No, cool. Well, dude, I appreciate your time very much. We've been on for a little over an hour. It's been good conversation. Good luck this spring doing your turkey hunts and different things. Keep me posted.
My main thing now is arrowheads. So it's
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Jamie was telling me about the new farm on the phone today, and I was like, "Is there running water?" He's like, "Hell yeah!" And I was like, "Tell me more about this and this." And I was like, "There's arrowheads there," and that's all I can think about now. I don't really care about the deer. I just care about the arrowheads. And no, dude, like seriously,
that's
that
awesome.
that's like Melissa and I, like literally, that is like our favorite thing to do. I'm not kidding. Is look for arrowheads. Like we absolutely. That's the big fun. So like we'll be hunting, and like I'm sitting there staring out in the window looking at deer, and like all I can think about is like, man, I just want to get out and go check this other spot or this or that.
Have you ever found arrowheads in turkeys?
Inside of a turkey?
Like in their crop?
Like
that's a thing, man. Turkey stones. Have you heard of this?
Oh, you mean like a Native American arrowhead?
Yes. I'm not talking to somebody that going back to our wounding conversation. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like turkeys. Obviously, birds get to pick up grit, right? Yeah. They store those in their gizzards,
right?
And turkey stones are a thing because they'll be in there and they polish these stones and rocks that they pick up. They're just polished to a high sheen, like they've been in a tumbler for years, right? Yeah. Well, guys will find arrowhead, in Native American arrowheads or pieces of arrowheads inside of turkeys that they have picked up.
It's in their crop.
It's in their crop. Yeah, in that gizzard there, you got to open that up and see what's in there. But there's people that when they kill their turkey, that's one of the first things they'll open that up, clean that bird. They open up that crop and they're looking for stones. They're looking shiny stones, looking for arrowheads, and they'll have jars full of this stuff.
Really?
I would imagine the arrowhead thing's probably fairly uncommon, but you gotta figure turkey's close to the ground with that vision. They see something that they think would, they pick it up and swallow it, and that's where it goes. People have found them.
That's crazy, man.
Yes.
I'll make sure I look now next time.
Yeah, exactly. I've been opening up every bird that I've shot over the last couple of years and looking for stones. I've got a couple of good stones, but most of the time it's just grit for the most part.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, man, my pleasure. Anytime. But, well, I got to ask one question before I let you go.
All right.
And we'll keep it turkey specific because I know you're a turkey guy. If you could only hunt one species of turkey in one place, one way, what's it going to be?
And I don't have to live there. That's where I hunt turkeys.
Just where you hunt, yeah.
Richard Cody's place in Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
That's where I got good. That's where I'd go.
That's awesome. Everybody's got something.
Yeah. No. Knocking doors in Nebraska, probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah. With friends or solo?
Either way, it doesn't matter. It's your hunt.
That's a tough one, man. Spokane, Washington, at Cody's place, or knocking doors in Nebraska.
It's hard to nail it down to just one thing.
And I've got so many good memories.
Yeah.
Roseburg, Oregon's a good one. Kansas is pretty cool. Missouri's a cool spot. Georgia's a cool spot. Alabama's a cool spot. Texas is a cool spot. Yeah, that's my answer. All of them.
We'll live with it. Yeah. Cool.
All right,
thanks, man.
Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Yeah.